Wordsmith, Captain Flowers. That is an amazing way of putting it. And yeah, I mean, like if you get baited into the Kindred ult and you're sitting there as Katarina with no cooldowns because you blew all them and didn't get any resets, like, yeah, you're going to feel pretty dumb.
Yeah, well.
But if you have the discipline, wham,
bonk, and all of a sudden Pentakill rolls in, collect your accolades and your praise. But we will see Graves picked up on the side of TSM Academy. They're like, all right, you want to ban away one marksman jungler? Well, sir, we have another. As you look on the other side, and it's Kai'Sa picked up by 100 Thieves Academy, as well as the Kennen.
Yeah, and they're going to kind of stay with this interesting team comp where they only have one real frontliner, but a lot of AoE tools. And on the flip side, have the Graves taken into the Kindred, the Trundle, which is not too much of a surprise. Always has a good matchup. You have the tempo and range advantage on the melee Trundle. And the Gnar into the top side, the counter pick. Interestingly, because traditionally it hadn't been seen as counter pick. Some people in LCK say it's not as much of a counter pick as it used to be, as the Gnar wins the game a lot more of the time, despite falling like 10 CS on average, I think, behind is the number.
See, I don't know how well I can trust LCK top lane counter picks, because if we look at the numbers from the LCK mark, you're probably going to see good numbers on stuff like Jace. And over here in NA, some of those numbers don't quite translate. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's something in the water over here. But those win rates aren't always super honest. Sometimes you just got to follow your heart, and sometimes your heart says Gnar.
You are memeing.
No, I'm not.
Okay, because I was about to say, I agree in principle with what you're saying, which is like, just because it's true doesn't mean
sounds like a meme.
It's not going to work here. Like, you know, maybe if you play Ken and Gnar optimally, the Gnar can win. But if you're not playing optimally, I'd rather be the guy who presses a couple buttons and kills you.
Well, we'll see whose couple buttons get pressed to kill who in this game. There's a lot of explosive potential here yet again. With press the attack on the Kennen, it likely is going to be the on-hit AD split push style Kennen, not that AP style that goes for the flank into the big ultis. Looking at the rest of those summoner spells, nothing seems too crazy. You've got Resolve as your secondary on Katarina. Pretty much have to go Electrocute as your primary. Like, that's just what Katarina does. The domination tree works out very well for the champion. And yeah, pretty much par for the course here.
Yeah, no interesting level ones thus far today. Plenty of interesting games after the level ones. I was talking with, I think, Jat and Dash on the analyst desk about supports with level 1 abilities that are hard CC, and I remember in the Academy last week there was a Pyke who had an interesting play. It was actually TSM who did it on red side, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised we don't see this more often, but I guess Pyke is one of the guys who has hard CC level 1, and I was like, well, actually, Gragas has hard CC level 1. He can E over walls, and that's actually not that bad for your jungle path. Rakan has W level 1 with hard CC, and I was wondering, you know, maybe there's a lot more room in the current metagame with picks to make aggressive level 1s, but this time around, definitely not the case. No hard CC level 1 for anyone.
Nope, Levi will just start off with his red buff here too, moves over to the chicken camp afterwards to farm up, and Trundle versus Graves. Graves was one of those picks that when Trundle was just like picked all the time in the meta, like top jungle pick. And I mean, I'm not pretending like he's not still an incredibly popular pick, but when he was the pick, Graves kind of came up as one of those champs that could deal with him pretty effectively. Graves not really super scared of him, considering, yeah, he can put up the pillar, but you can dash to the other side of it as well as just sort of keep him at bay the entire time. We'll see how well Mike Young is able to play this up against Levi. Both these junglers, of course, known for being aggressive when they're at their best.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And what's interesting about the jungle matchup is if Mike Young can hover around the top side and kind of sway it in Pyke Lord's favor, it's the kind of thing that we've seen Huni and Dardoch do a number of times. When Dardoch gets the Graves pick, he like just cycles out the top side jungle and keeps pressure up there, which allows Huni to play aggressive. Not happening right now as Mike Young has gone for a more even trade of clear early on, but something that could factor in a little bit later in the levels.
And Pyke Lord, this is a guy who also, remember back when we saw him at Scouting Grounds, I believe that it was last year, he played a lot of split push carry style champions. He was also an aggro player. So if you have the chance to play that style that you mentioned, where you can facilitate the aggro plays of two of your different guys at the same time, that just seems like thumbs up all around to me.
Yeah, it works for, like we said, Echo Fox. There's no reason it can't work for 100 Thieves based off their players. And their bot lane actually doing pretty good right now in the matchup. Uh-oh. Pyke Lord in trouble, though. Gonna just flash over the wall. Hop.
Flashes the wall, goes over, but Levi's right there. He says, okay, that's your escape mechanism's already down, and he gives him the back. First blood over to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wonder if that was the right play to get out of there. It was an interesting idea about getting ahead of the play, hopefully, and starting your escape early on, but
Didn't work out.
yeah, it did not work out.
Not this time around. Piecake Lord also going back with that death, only really has enough money to buy a ruby crystal, so pretty ineffective back timing overall.
True. The upside is Brandini didn't get an assist, so there's no extra gold going over to Brandini. He'll still get a better back timing because he didn't have to go back this early, but at least he didn't go back with an extra 200 gold.
Silver linings. Silver linings. Mark?
I'm an optimist.
I can appreciate that.
I'm not an optimist.
Well, now you're just a liar, Mark.
Exactly.
And I can't appreciate that. I want honesty at the Academy desk. Here is Brandini. Wants nothing more than to throw some more shurikens or whatever the lightning plates, whatever those are, right into Piecake Lord's face and keep him underneath the turret for the entirety of this game.
Like his mask, you know, like, oh, here we go.
Rose, he has multiple masks?
I don't know, what else?
Right.
What else?
Either way, Brandini now looks to find the stun down into Piecake Lord, who is going to be taken low. The Gnar bar fills up, and Piecake Lord will at least make that one a 1-for-1.
Yeah, well played that time. Brandini was a little early on his lightning rush. He hopped in there right away and then was not actually able to use the attack speed steroid that you get from coming out of it because he was underneath the turret and was like, all right, I don't want to take turret aggro, so he didn't tag him with it. He didn't use the armor or MR to reduce any damage, and then he didn't have the attack speed at the end when they were trying to find that kill. So Brandini's early E kind of came back and bit him a little bit there. We'll take a look at it. He's trying to follow Piecake Lord, who he thought was going to keep running right, and then he realizes, uh-oh, he actually came back around onto me. So now he's just in full retreat mode. Gets the stun up, but Piecake Lord still had his, I always forget the name of that rune, nullifying orb up.
Yeah, the little baby hex drinker thing.
Yeah.
Either way, it was well played by Piecake Lord to recognize, hey, this doesn't end well for me, so let's at least make it end in the least bad way possible. Turning around, grabbing the kill. As mid lane, Linsanity versus a Blaze Olive. Katarina's one of those champions, too, that sort of what we saw earlier on, showcased by specifically Golden Glue on the Akali going up against Sun on the Lulu, where you just don't expect the burst and you give your opponent too much and you can capitalize on it and make the solo kill. I want to see if a Blaze Olive can do that this game because that's what I feel like I always see when you watch some of the Challenger or Master Tier Katarina 1 tricks that play in solo queue is it seems like what really makes them stand out, what makes them achieve a high level of skill on the champion is always knowing, okay, he's dead here even though he's at 85% HP. And if a Blaze Olive can get those going, get a couple of kills early on, start that snowball, he could be ferocious.
And knowing your all-in timings, like you said, the HP values and stuff that you're most likely going to kill them, I mean, Katarina actually has a lot of, if you execute correctly, all-in threats starting at level 3, and if you are able to find some trades early on and get them low, you can really spike hard at level 3, and their spikes continue hitting, you know, another one at 6 with your ultimate coming online. And that's why you saw there, Linsanity was basically sitting back and waiting till a Blaze Olive was forced to push that wave. He did not want to walk forward and risk anything coming towards him.
Good job by Levi there, throwing out the pillar to make sure that he kept Mike Young away for an extra second to try to secure his red buff. Of course, Mike came in, didn't have a smite. Levi didn't know that, but considering he had his own, he was able to secure it nice and easy. Insanity fighting up against the Blaze Olive here with Levi right behind him. Just means he gets free poke in the form of the Clockwork wind up with the auto attacks, and the Blaze Olive is forced back.
Yeah, and I like this play right here by 100 Thieves. They get mid priority as Levi secures his red and goes red to red, knowing that Mike Young started on red, and if he's in contesting yours, his must be up, and so Levi makes the path over there to contest that red. Looks like he blast cones out and is going to back off as Linsanity was like, hey, bud, I really want to back right now.
Linsanity had to back. He had no mana, and then when you look at top lane, Piecake Lord was already like, oh, an excuse to leave this lane? All right, I'm out. Yeah, and just wants to rotate over. Yeah, you got to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, so good idea by Levi, but just going for the pressure, sees the enemy team's reacting, and intelligently calls it off and goes back farming his own jungle.
Brandini will continue pushing up in this top side, though. Remember, it was the Gnar pick that commented earlier, but Piecake Lord jumps in. Brandini turns on the slicing Maelstrom, nullifying or procs. Piecake Lord will be kept alive at 200 HP, and Mike Young showing his presence here means the Piecake Lord lives to see another day.
Piecake Lord, I believe, was going for an ultimate back right when he popped in as his ultimate, or as his Mega Gnar was running out to set up a gank onto Mike Young, but it timed out right as he went in, so he couldn't get the ult off. You're going to see a little interrupt.
Yup. Cheeky Q. 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, actually going
to time it right. Mike Young gets stunned up. Now he could be in some serious trouble. Subjugate is down, and Levi just comes up and bonks him.
Yeah, we thought he was just going to go for the interrupt. We were tunneling on that and didn't notice Levi moving up through the river there, so they actually turned that into a kill.
He didn't notice either.
Yeah, no one noticed but 100 Thieves. Nice play by them to find a kill seemingly out of nowhere. And it once again goes on to Levi, who suddenly finds himself by far the strongest champion in the game on Trundle.
Yeah, this is a super scary Trundle. Tiamat already purchased 2 to make sure that he just continues flooding that economy at maximum efficiency, clearing out the camps as quickly as possible. It's a 1,500 gold lead here for the Thieves this early on into the game. As you can see, Brandini working towards those auto attack items we were talking about. Blade of the Ruined King probably coming out here as the first item. Ninja Tabby's already completed onto both of these top laners that know they're going to be just constantly auto attacking each other.
Yeah, and Brandini able to get a small CS lead with all the action on the top side. And this is something that we saw this matchup with the same rune choice out of Brandini going for the, that Brandini's using in the AD cannon between Golden Guardians and TSM, and it was the same matchup. And funnily enough, it was Poncer playing it, so in the same organization playing the same matchup, but they did not play that matchup very aggressively, and Lorlo sat back, got hit by a number of the Nars Qs, and if you watch how Brandini's playing this, he is very willing to auto attack trade. He's been doing that since level 1, and that's really why I think you need to play the matchup this way. It's not a fun matchup to play because you have to be very aggressive and risky in it, but 100 Thieves are playing around that fact very, very well and supporting the pick, whereas when you don't give it any help, it does tend to lose.
Bottom side, it's Killer Instinct. Used here by Rikara, trying to start the fight onto Mr. Rawls as Shady was off clearing some wards. Stunt and Rikara having to move themselves away now before they get bopped by that damage coming out from Rawls and Shady. Mike Young also on the bottom side of the map means that TSM might look to make something else happen here, but 100 Thieves has already called a full retreat.
Yeah, I like this move. 100 Thieves are not exactly sure where Mike Young was. Very likely he was in the area, knew their jungler was up on the top side, so they're going to go for a turret trade instead. Going for a bit of a split map as Linsanity's trying to take it all in here.
Nice little bit of damage down onto a Blaze Olive, who looks to turn things right back around, picks up his dagger, but it's not enough. The Airy comes through, and Linsanity finds himself the solo kill onto a Blaze Olive's Katarina. Shady looks to make his way into the fight now to find the revenge, but there's backup coming for 100 Thieves, and Brandini pops the Slicing Maelstrom to make sure that Shady drops there too. That's 2 for 0 for the Way of the Thieves.
And with the Rift Arrow that they took as well, they're going to be able to drop that in the mid lane. The 3-man push squad coming in now to drop the second turret of the game for themselves. Big play by 100 Thieves, and a misplay by a Blaze Olive that felt like somewhat committing to the fight, but also not even dropping his ultimate or anything for any damage. Just missed his dagger as well. The prep dagger going too far up to the top side as it caused Linsanity to run down and step out of that damage. And there you go. As soon as that matchup starts going south, it probably gets pretty difficult.
Man, this is a 4,000 gold lead here, too. Let's take another look at the solo kill Linsanity was able to find.
So you see the ultimate. That's all the hard CC you're going to get. Drops his dagger. Oh, that was his bouncing dagger. No prep dagger there. That's my bad then. Either way, it looks like there might have just been a situation where Linsanity just found the upper hand on that Blaze Olive, and there's not much he could have done about that other than potentially flash earlier and dodge out of the shockwave. Anyways, well played as well with the Soraka ult coming in to protect Linsanity, baiting out the flash from the Tahm Kench, and then the collapse coming in from the push that just happened in the top side.
Now TSM Academy has to ask themselves, how do we stop this bleeding? This is a terrible situation to be in at this point into the game. We're still so early on, but it's such a large lead for 100 Thieves Academy. And now Mr. Rawlins might be in some trouble here yet again. Rikara coming out to find the damage, and Rawlins just evaporates in front of Shady's eyes before he can get in range for the Devour.
Yeah, they were super close to finding a kill the last time that they went in on him, and it was just a last-second point-blank Ash arrow onto Rikara that stopped them from going forward, and Tahm Kench being able to collapse because of that. This time around, no flash on the Tahm Kench to try and devour or anything. Ash arrow didn't look like it hit.
Yeah, now poor Shady just kind of has to sit here and wait for Rawlins to TP back. They'll lose about half the HP on their turret. Rikara and Stun doing a good job in this 2 versus 2, and that's now a couple different lanes, Mark, that we've seen 100 Thieves just find solo kills. on their counterparts. Blaze Olive trying to turn this around, but there's nothing to turn around when Levi can just go on a rampage like that. 4-0-0 on this Trundle. 0-1-0 on Mike Young's Graves. The farm's the same.
Yeah. Like I said, that is a pretty strong Trundle. Just walks up and puts the beat down on Katarina. And with all that mid priority they have now, obviously it's going to spill over down to this bot side. The fact that the bot lane also was getting kills of their own just means that this turret in the bot side, the last outer available, is not long for this world.
That was quite a messy skirmish for a frog that was rapidly regenerating. The smite didn't even manage to kill it. It was the chomp at the very end from Levi that secures that Grump from the TSM jungle. If we're talking about securing objectives, there's a couple things on the map bigger than a Grump, and it looks like that bottom lane tier 1 turret is going to go down on the side of TSM, which means 100 Thieves Academy now has 4 under their belt. A 5,000 gold lead. They're 1 Drake up. They've got these power spikes coming online too. Blade of the Ruined King for Kinnan.
Piecake Lord time to die.
And now Piecake Lord. He will find the Mega Gnar into the wall, but Brandini is still going after him. Needs to find a little bit more to get that stun. We'll get it there on the back end with the last auto attack. More damage coming through. Piecake Lord taken low and taken down. A Blaze Olive looking to move in. Clean Brandini up. Will find it. But now you just don't fight Levi. Not like that. He will have some quick feet to get himself away, but he won't get away fast enough. Mike Young will look to run it down as Levi turns around and just gets blasted. Mike Young with the point-blank Graves ulti will finally end that killing spree.
All things considered, not a bad fight for TSM Academy. The 2-for-2 trade, but like you said, the shutdowns giving more gold over to the TSM, so it stays at that 4,000 gold lead, but you can kind of feel like it's whenever and however 100 Thieves want it that they're going to get these fights. Here, they find one onto Piecake Lord. This is a bit of an overreach. They would have got that flash for free. Didn't need to trade the flash and continue collapsing. Slight over-aggression. They get the initial kill. And then Levi has his flash, doesn't want to commit it, just would rather run back and forth to try and find these kills. And then once he sees Mike Young show up, then he goes for the kind of greedy flash to be like, oh, I should have killed him faster. Afterwards, Mike Young's still alive, able to get that shutdown kill. Levi flashes a little bit earlier to kill Katarina faster. Maybe he can get out, but either way, TSM able to have a punish on that slight mistake.
Blaze Olive and Mike Young saying, all right, it worked last time to grab us a couple of kills. Let's continue working together here, see if maybe we can find something onto this enemy bottom lane, but it looks like there's nothing to find here today. 100 Thieves Academy doing a good job sticking together to make sure nobody gets jumped on by that Graves and Katarina burst. As the silence comes through, the smite is still going to ring through there for Mike Young, making sure he grabs his own blue. As 100 Thieves Academy, I like what they're doing here, Mark. They're constantly trying to contest everything in the enemy jungle, making it so TSM doesn't feel comfortable pushing out past these turrets. And if they do get comfortable doing that, they may just find themselves punished.
Yeah, there's plenty of pink wards, so it's not like TSM don't know what's happening. Can they do anything about it?
Levi's in some trouble. The shockwave finds its way onto 2. Levi will likely be the sacrificial lamb here. A Blaze Olive grabs himself his second kill of the game as TSM Academy do a good job punishing a 100 Thieves that honestly just didn't do their due diligence in searching out and finding those wards.
Yeah, absolutely. We said that they were on top of them. We were saying, can TSM do anything about it? Answer, clearly yes. If Trundle just wants to try and charge through all of those wards, he has no MR in his build yet, so no surprise that a Blaze Olive is able to do quite a bit of damage to him and actually find that kill for himself. A little bit of hubris there, as they probably should have focused on clearing the wards and gaining control back on the map instead of trying to brute force that fight.
And when you look at the side of 100 Thieves Academy, squishy mid laner, squishy AD carry, squishy support, top laner that's not tanky at all yet. If you keep giving away disrespectful kills to a Blaze Olive, he's going to start doing some pretty crazy stuff. They really, really need to watch these sorts of risky moves and not make that kind of a chance. Not take that kind of a chance, I should say, because you don't want to enable your opponent's win condition for no reason.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at the itemization now for Blaze Olive, he's still a little behind the Orianna, but not nearly what it was before he got those 2 kills in the trade back, and especially the extra goal from the assist onto the Levi death. So, like you're saying, it's still very much in 100 Thieves' control, obviously, 4,500 gold lead, but the sloppy plays really got to get cleaned up from here.
100 Thieves. The Mountain Drake is live. They'll be working on that one now. Baron will be spawning in just a bit under 2 minutes. So this team having a little bit of extra objective control through this Drake is definitely something they'll be happy about, especially considering they've already managed to take down a tier 2 turret 18 minutes into the game with no help from a Baron, from a Mountain Drake, from anything like that. So when you have that amount of control, when you have that amount of tempo, you feel like, hey, if we can get some of these objectives that'll help it out, we can just completely steamroll everything that TSM has, and they've continually got to just keep defending. I mean, as TSM, they're doing a good job right now in terms of putting down some wards like we already talked about. Those wards would allow them to find that punish onto 100 Thieves in the bottom lane. But so much of this is still them just waiting for those punish opportunities, because when you're this far behind in the game, Mark, there's not a lot that you get to actively decide.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations, too, where ideally TSM is 1-3-1-ing and they have pressure in the mid, and then you force the Orianna into the side lane to go against the Katarina, and then the Orianna is scared of getting ganked and killed. Because 100 Thieves Academy are so far ahead, they can actually just keep Lynn Sanity in the mid lane to basically 1v2 the Ashe and Tahm Kench, and that allows the Soraka and the Kalista to stay, Kalista. Kaisa.
Most of the letters are the same.
Yeah, I just brain fart for a second there. It basically allows the dual lane to sit against one of these split pushers and completely stop TSM from ever getting side lane priority, just because the Orianna is strong enough in the mid lane to handle everything.
Pie Cake Lord will try to handle as much as he can here in this bottom side. And of course, even if Mr. Rollins and Shady are kept on lock by Linsanity for most of the time, they can still try to just say, the hell with that priority and make a rotation elsewhere. Brandini trying to defend himself against the dive coming out from a Blaze Olive and Mike Young. Rikara makes his way into the fight now as well.
Nope.
No, not today. Not today. They'll keep that top laner alive. But that is about all they're going to get for now.
Every time I see the potential for a Lee Syndrome effect, I call for the Lee Syndrome.
My mind's telling me no.
Yeah, exactly. My body.
Telling him yes, but it did tell him no today also. Everything said no. Not going in on that one. Worth noting as well, you did see Brandini pop the stasis up there in that top lane. That was a stopwatch, which has now been sold off to create more room for what appears to be Rage Blade pieces. Blaze Olive and Mike Young continuing to try to work together to burst these guys down. Look, Stunt is not tanky. He is not in a spot where he can survive easily at all. Linsanity finding the ulti down onto 2, flash over the wall to get himself away. A nice escape there.
Well played by Linsanity. TSM finally were with the side lane pressure that they're kind of generating for themselves through their lane assignments. So they got a Blaze Olive up against Brandini, which is a squishy, not 2v1. So he's actually able to go in. And you saw he almost 100'd to 0 Brandini underneath that turret. Instantly. Now, they didn't get that kill quite as quickly as they want, but it did show that they have the ability to get Blaze Olive in these things, in these side lanes to find kills, and 100 Thieves is starting to feel a little pressured from that, starting this Baron off.
Thieves saying, all right, TSM, come after us, see what you can do. Mr. Rollins wants to go for it. There's your killer instinct, Mark. His mind's telling him yes, his body's telling him yes, and Mr. Rollins just says, oh, come on.
One of the greatest Lee Sin videos on YouTube in full effect there, except he got the kills, did not give over a double kill like what happened in that video. And now they're going to continue the pressure down onto here. And you also have Brandini TPing in for that extra bit of security to make sure that no one's going to come over the wall and try and stop this.
Blaze Olive tries to go in, makes some plays happen. He's going to be bursted down, makes it a 1-for-1 though. Mike Young tries to get away over the wall. Brandini looking to follow it up. Heals from Soraka, keeping him high HP to make sure this chase goes nothing but successful.
Whoa.
But the success will be stopped just short. A good save there comes out from Shady.
A nice save, but Mike Young's super low. He's not going to be able to contest this Baron at all. So once again, 100 Thieves are going to turn back onto this and try and start forcing it down.
Early smite from Levi because he has the second one ready, so it'll be ready by the time that 15-second cooldown timer between them is up, hopefully. And he also just wanted to have the extra health for this attempt. Chilling Smite now back online means 100 Thieves Academy secure their objective.
Nice play by 100 Thieves to get that one. Did cost them a fair amount of resources, but it's almost always worth that Baron buff. And no TPs left available. We'll see what they choose to do. I assume they'll just go into 2 lanes and try and take one of these inhibitor turrets down, as they still have a monstrous gold lead.
And that gold lead, it's not like this is stalling out. It's not like things are getting any better.
No.
For TSM Academy. We're looking at the Katarina. We're looking at some of the damage potential that Ablaze Olive is able to find. But honestly, outside of a montage-worthy wub-wub music in the background, deep-fried shader effects on every single frame of the video, level pentakill from Ablaze Olive, what's your win condition here?
I'm not even quite sure what you're referencing, Captain Flowers. What was all that you just said? No, they don't have a great win condition. I mean, the way that their comp was supposed to work, I believe, was to get ahead in the side lanes, go 1-3-1, put your Ashe in the mid lane, and then like we saw previously CLG doing with their AD carry having an initiate button and the Tahm Kench, you would ult the Tahm Kench into one of those side lanes to force a pickoff. As soon as you lose all the pressure, it becomes much harder to do that. You can still try and Tahm Kench the Ashe into fights, but you can see when you don't have the vision control, it's much harder to surprise your opponent with that play.
Good devour there by Shady, making sure Ablaze Olive doesn't get jumped on with the killer instinct and immediately bursted down. Pike Cake Lord has his Black Cleaver, working on some armor and some health now in the form of the Bramble Vest as well as the Giant's Belt, but I don't know. Brandini's still a pretty scary dude on this cannon with the Rage Blade completed, now working next on the Joram's Fist, which will likely turn into the Frozen Mallet. It's so hard to move here as TSM Academy. You just feel completely stuck behind your own turrets.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that one little brush attempt that they had a second ago got sniffed out by the Orianna, they're going to be pinned up in their base. And they can try and go the cannon still has no TP to get involved in one of these, so if you can land an Ashe arrow, maybe you can take a 5v5, but you're going to need to have the Gnar kind of in mega form so you can go right away, and of course 100 Thieves are going to see that. It's going to be very telegraphed.
Thieves continue to push down here in the bottom side. They'll take that tier 2 for free with their Baron buff. Still 1 minute left to go on that as they will push up towards the enemy tier 3 turret now. We talked about wanting to see these guys win this game convincingly, Mark. Coming to playoffs looking good, especially against a team that was surging in the second half of the split. And it looks like they're going to do just that here today. Arrow comes out, finds its way onto Insanity. Popping the Glance, giving himself alive. Pike Cake Lord in the front line. It's in the back with Ablaze Olive, who goes into stasis, keeping himself alive. Stunt going to survive as Mike Young goes down. Ablaze Olive tries to get away, but there's your killer instinct. There's your kill from Rakara. There goes TSM. And that should be about all she could possibly write on this one. Shockwave goes through. The Slicing Maelstrom only shows up at the very end, but they never even needed it until now anyway. Minions will be taken out. The rest will be escorted in. And 100 Thieves Academy, not even 26 minutes into this game, bash down the Nexus turrets, take the Nexus, and find their win.
Yeah, 4v5 for that final fight. They kited out extremely well. They're able to turn that one around. The Kaisa going in, hitting her power spikes and cleaning up that team fight. The cannon just showing up at the end, giving the final goodbye wave to TSM, as that is the final time that they will be showing up in the Academy broadcast for the rest of the year.